Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, depending on where you're based. And thank you for joining us once again live on Saturday for another episode of the African Reform Movement Channel's broadcast. My name is Uche. As ever, I'm your host, and as ever, we have Dr. Nee, who's going to give us a presentation shortly. Thank you to those of you who are joining us live. Thank you to those of you who have also subscribed to the YouTube channel. It's now, I think it's almost 140 people subscribed to that channel. So that's really good. Thank you for that. If you are new, as always, Dr. Nee has a number of social media platforms. You can see Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. Please feel free to connect with him on there. And also, please take advantage of his website, sankofaafrica.com, which has a number of articles on a lot of the situations that are happening in Ghana and Africa as a continent. Dr. Nee's written a number of books, all of which can be purchased at his Nook store. As I say before, he talks a lot about Weep Africa and the Fifth Republic. Those books are freely available to purchase on this site. They're not free. You can purchase them on this site. So that's there. Okay. So today we have an interesting topic with an interesting title. We grow our nails because of itchiness. I've never heard this expression before, but I'm looking forward to Dr. Nee breaking it down for everybody. And you can join the conversation afterwards. Over to you, Dr. Nee.
Thank you very much, Uche. And before I say anything further, next week, Saturday, will be 1 year since I started this program with Uche.
Oh, wow.
So we've come a long way, and we thank
Yeah.
God for that. Yeah, today we are talking about we grew our nails because of itchiness. And that's a Ghana proverb that I've actually translated into English. Hiblemo hiwo atuowana. Hebelem hiwo atuowana. We grow our nails because of itchiness. We save because of distress. We save against distress in the future. Saving is an insurance. Keeping your nails long is an insurance against distress, against itchiness. Now, if you're brought up in my house or in my home, you'd have heard this so much, so many times that it would have become part of your second nature. Everything you do in life, you have to plan against an adversity. You have to make sure that you are ready when an adversity strikes. Now, if you have this at the back of your mind and you are giving a country to manage, you know that you do everything with this idea in your mind that a day may come that you may need to dig deep. The world is at such a stage now. Things are happening. The world is in distress. There is confusion everywhere. There's uncertainty everywhere. And at this point in time, you don't cut your nails. You actually grow your nails. Now, just after I sent this topic around, an uncle of Shika sent me um, sent me a report from the World Bank or something to do with the World Bank president. What's his name? Mr. Malpass. And this thing is, the heading is World Bank advises Ghana to initiate prompt resolution processes for unsustainable debt. That's less than an hour after I sent this thing out. So I got this email, I got this message from him. I read through everything and I saw what the World Bank was trying to say. That I've been saying here forever, that I don't want a Sri Lanka in Ghana. I don't want a Sri Lanka in Ghana. And that was the advice that the World Bank president was giving to the government of Ghana to initiate prompt resolution processes for our unsustainable debt, citing Sri Lanka as an example. All right. So we have been hearing this from November that Ghana is heading the way of Sri Lanka if we don't do things properly. All right. Then yesterday, I got a message from young Hubert, and he sent it to me. What's the title? I think from Bloomberg. Bloomberg says that history shows Ghana Cedi may weaken further from record low. That is, our Cedi is going to plunge further from the record low. Cedi is at its lowest trading record, and it's going to plunge further. And I told Hubert that, Hubert, this is what I'm going to discuss tomorrow. And this is what I've been telling you people forever. That looking at the dynamics on the ground, this is what's going to happen to the Cedi. The Cedi by itself has no intrinsic value. Okay. And when you are in distress, the weak becomes weaker in distress. Is that not true? The weak becomes weaker in distress. So that's where our Cedi is heading. We're going to go through all these two things, and then I'll talk about the grown nails and what is happening to the grown nails. Can we please have the first slide? We go at nails because of itchiness. Ghana's reserves, economy, and the Cedi. All right, we've spoken about this already. Let's go to the next slide. World Bank advises Ghana. Okay. Now, when I read through the World Bank's president's advice, he suggested a few things. We have to create a debtor-creditor committee to try and negotiate and see how we can pay off our unsustainable debt before we get to a point of Sri Lanka. That's fair enough as a band-aid solution. Okay, that does not change the structure, our economic structure that has given rise to these unsustainable debt. Anyway, it's just an attempt to sort of further slide. Okay. Then also said about citizen-led growth. Well, it was asked a question about revenue mobilization or what is the best policies for Ghana at this stage. Then I said not really revenue mobilization, but rather growth policies. Now, obviously, you know these urban people, the way they behave, they are always politically correct. The revenue mobilization refers to the GE levy principally. And I said, no, that's not the right thing for Ghana at this stage, really. The right thing is growth policy. So we'll see what growth policies are. But he politely answered that what we need now is growth policies led by citizens of Ghana and, of course, FDI, foreign direct investment. But the key now is to encourage growth policies, is to stimulate the economy. Then you talk about Eurobond usage, that Eurobond should be used effectively. You know, this is my problem. Eurobond is not free money. Okay. A country must be able to manage resources, must be able to cut the cloth according to its material, and not needing to sell Eurobond, to use the bond, to use the Eurobond, because history has shown that when we go for those monies, we don't use them properly because somehow in our mind we think it's free money. Then legacy debt. You talk about legacy debt as an area of interest of conflict of interest. And you know the legacy that one government comes, borrows money, and leaves it for another government to come and pay. And well, they don't pay, they also borrow their own money. And for them, it's a major area of concern because that actually is the Ghana scenario. Your mama borrowed about 110 billion, and what has borrowed 250 billion. And your mama left this money he borrowed for Akuado to pay, and everybody is leaving the money he has borrowed for somebody else to pay. And he was worried. But you see, the World Bank should do something more serious about this because they must be able to track these monies collected by this government and be able to, just like we have the International Criminal Court for criminal cases, we should also have International Financial Court for government who come into these misgoverned third world or whatever fourth world countries, borrow money in the name of the country, and embezzle and steal the money. They must have a form of court where they can try these people because talking alone will not help. Our people do not have the capacity to deal with these tasks. If the World Bank has realized that it's a problem, then they must try and find it because at the end of the day, we owe them the money. If we cannot pay, well, it's going to be bad debt because if we cannot pay, we cannot pay. They know these monies are stolen, yet they do not do anything. Now that it's come to, we are dropped into the bottomless pit, they are asking us now to look at this legacy debt. Anyway, what I did not see in the World Bank's problem or no structural change, they did not say anything about our expenditure because we have all these debts because we spend more than we produce. Our expenditure is much more than our revenue. There was no advice for structural change to our fiscal policies in terms of how much you earn and how much you spend. And actually, they did not talk about a conducive environment even for the growth policies. You see, and that's the problem of the World Bank and IMF. They think our problems are largely or probably wholly economical. They are not. The oil that turns the wheel of the economy is rule of law. The oil that turns the wheels of the economy is the rule of law. Nobody is going to invest in an economy where the Minister for Security is saying that the potential for uprising is real. Nobody is going to invest in a country where it's so obvious that the rule of law is in hibernation. Nobody is going to invest in a country where it appears the judiciary is an extension of the executive. This is the oil that turns the wheel of the economy. The problem they do not understand this is because they think the state of Ghana is like the state of Australia or the state of Canada or the state of Germany. Now, the state of Ghana is not like these states. Therefore, you do not expect the citizens of Ghana to behave like the citizens of these states. It's as simple as that. If you make that wrong assumption that what works economically in Germany will work economically in Ghana, you are wrong because the oil that turns the wheel of the economy in Germany is not the same in Ghana. The rule of law in Switzerland is not the same the rule of law in Ghana. So when they are talking about that, and that's why the ERP, the economic recovery program, the whatever they've done in Ghana from 1983 up to now has not worked because we are talking about a different environment. We are talking about an environment that is not conducive for proper economic development. There's no rule of law. There is no rule of law in Ghana. Tomorrow, there can be an uprising, somebody can take over and can nationalize people's investment. So who's going to invest in that environment? Next slide. What are growth policies? What are growth policies? These are policies that governments put in place to stimulate the economy and to encourage economic growth. There are two sides to it. We have the demand side and the supply side. The demand side, we have fiscal and monetary. Fiscal is tax cuts, and monetary is interest rate cuts. And the supply side, we have free market policy, which is privatization and deregulation. You remember that when I was discussing the economy, I told you that under even government, you're going to have a minister for digital economy, small business, and deregulation. Deregulation is very important. It's very important. It's a very important growth policy. The same way, tax cuts very important. The same way, interest rate cuts very important. These are the things that put money in the pocket of citizens. Then they can spend to the economy. This put money in the pocket of companies, and they can either want to expand and employ more people. So these are growth policies. Of course, then we have the interventionist policies like improve education and improve structure. Now, this one, government intervenes directly through government spending. Okay, it's part of the supply through government spending. Government intervenes directly through government spending to expand the economy. Now, you see clearly here what it means. When the journalist asked him the question about the e-levy, he said, no, what you need is growth policy. This is the time that you need to release money into pocket people, not to take money from pockets. To release money into people's pocket, not to take money from people's pocket. Tax cuts. you know that I always tell you that I don't support tax. I don't support any government that's at these people. I believe in low tax. Now, tax cuts and interest rate cuts, when they are expecting Ghana government to be cutting tax, Ghana government is imposing tax. What Ghana government fails to realize that this that what God is saying has been active for 2,000 years ago. You know what Jesus Christ said? It is more blessed to give than to receive. It is more blessed for a government to cut tax and give money to people than impose tax and receive money unto itself. Simple as that. There is a divine wisdom in that. And it also says that give and it shall be given back to you. Press down, shaking over and running over, whatever, shall men bring into your bosom. Give it shall be given back to you in the same measure. So when you cut tax, you give back to people, and what happens? They are able to open up their businesses, and you get more tax from them. This is not a new thing. The World Bank president, Mr. Malpass, didn't even know what he was saying. That what he was saying has been said 2,000 years ago, and that's why some of us we look at the scripture for inspiration, even to understand the economy we are in. Give, and it shall be given back to you in the same measure. Press down, shaking together, and running over will men bring into your bosom. Because when you give it to them, they go out, work what you give it to them, and they bring more tax to you. It is more blessed to give than to receive. Because when you give, people have more, they bring back to you one way or the other. But when you want to put your hand in people's pocket and take what they have there, they will resist because it is not a good thing to do. Okay. So these are the growth policies that the World Bank says Ghana should implement. Ghana is not going to do that because they don't understand it. They don't understand. They believe that the way to go is always receive. The way to go is always take from people. And it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked anywhere. It isn't going to work in Ghana. That's the simple truth. All right. Next slide, please. Oh, yeah. This is what Hubert sent to me. Cedi to working further from record low. And that is what Bloomberg said, I think, 21st of April. And I told Hubert that I'm bringing from November and bringing for today's presentation. That's what I've been saying from November after the budget was read, that this was going to happen. The city is going to crash because the fundamentals are very poor. 7 months, or is it what? 4 months now. 6 months after the Bloomberg is saying what I've been saying for the past 6 months, that our economy is not sustainable, our debt burden is not sustainable, our currency has no value, it's going to collapse. Anyway, let's start today's topic then. Next slide. Grown nails made in Ghana. Okay, so I was explaining at the beginning that there's a proverb in Ghana which says that hebele mo hewo atuowana. Hebele mo hewo atuowana. We grow our nails because of itchiness. What it means is that in life, whatever you do, you have to plan for a day of adversity. And when the day of adversity comes and you haven't grown your nails, then you'll be in trouble. But when the day of adversity comes and you grow your nail, then you have vision. You have thought ahead. And that is the basis of today's discussion. Our national reserves. That's the money we put aside as our grown nails, or as we grow our nails, that maybe one day we'll need it to overcome a distress. At the beginning of this year, IMF said Ghana reserves was $9.3 billion. Okay. IMF said Ghana reserves was $9.3 billion. And they said that that was equivalent of 8 months of import. Just after that, Ghana government came out that they're going to pump $150 million every month onto the dollar market to stabilize the city. When you annualize that, it's 1.8 billion. Okay. Now, when they said that, I made a presentation on that here. And one of my very best friends said, why am I trying to annualize it? You can make it look very big because he doesn't think we'll need to go through the year pumping money every month. I said, well, we're going to go beyond a year. Anyway, what happened? In January, government pumped around 50 million. This was before the Ukraine war, okay? So nobody should blame the Ukraine war for anything happening in Ghana. In January, what happened was that government pumped around $50 million onto the market, but withdrawal to safety, that people who were a bit scared of our economy actually withdrew $200 million of investment. So there was a shortfall of $50 million. So the city fell badly in February. I don't know how much government is pumping in now, but I can tell you that Ghana government is pumping a lot of money to stabilize the city. What Ghana government is doing now is that it's gone into our reserves and is taking from our reserves to float the city or to keep the city afloat. That is the worst thing to do at this time because of global uncertainty. We haven't even gotten to the point of itchiness. And government, because of politics, government is actually cutting our nails now instead of building it because we don't know when the war in Ukraine will end. And there's no guarantee that there will be no further war anyway. There's no guarantee that China will not invade Taiwan. The world is very, very unstable. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. If Lady Marine Le Pen wins, there's going to be chaos in Europe and the world because he is actually saying that France must leave NATO. It's against the supranationalism of the EU. It's against so many things. He's actually talking of strategic partnership with Russia, Europe with Russia. Obviously, he doesn't want American influence in Europe. So if he wins, everything's going to change. And if it happens like that, you realize that the US dollar itself is going to become weak. In all fairness, in my personal opinion, this is the wrong time to spend your reserves to pump your currency against the US dollar because I can see a decline in the US dollar very, very soon. Honestly speaking, that's the way I see it. Now, so you ask me the question, why are we where we are now with the city? You see, one of the problems with the city is the deficit. That because of a large deficit, if we are not getting money from outside, then we have to print money to finance the deficit. And once you print money and there's a massive supply of cedi on the market, the value of the cedi drops. Okay, that is the initial push. That is the initial push. But now it's gone beyond that. Now speculation has set in. Speculation has set in. People are withdrawing their investment because they don't think that Ghana is on the right path. And how is government helping this? Government is helping the speculation because of the way it's gone about this e-levy. Look at what is happening in Parliament. Look at what's happening at this Asin North MP trying to take an MP out so they have the numbers in Parliament to pass e-levy, which is the wrong policy anyway. And then the security minister coming out to say that it's very concerned. National security is threatened because of the way the courts are behaving. So there is economic instability, there is political instability, there is judicial instability. Now, who is going to keep his money in such a volatile situation? So the speculation is being fed by government misbehavior. What we are talking about now is not so much supply of cedis onto the market to weaken the cedi against the dollar, but it's actually now more dollars being withdrawn from the system making dollar, making the demand for dollar much, much higher than the supply, and thereby rising the value of the dollar against the city. We have no control over that. And that is why we have to think carefully how we manage this. Now, if I'm presented with this set of facts and figures, and I'm asked that, how are you going to do this without depleting Ghana's reserves? This is what I will do. I call it sandbag economics. Okay. I'm not a protectionist like Marine Le Pen. Le Pen is a protectionist. She's against free market. Me, I'm a free marketeer. I'm not against protectionism. But when you are faced with a problem, you try and create a solution. Now, what I call sandbag economics is this. I will leave the city I will intervene on behalf of the city. I'll let it fall. Because that's the truth. You are not going to deplete your reserves against a major future unknown when you know that at the end of the day, if you spend all the $9 billion to defend the city and the basics do not change, you come back to square one. You have no reserves and the city will fall anyway. So what do you do? Okay. So this is what I would do. And that's what I call the sandbag economics. Sandbags, when there is flooding or whatever, sandbags do not stop the floods, but they protect property, life and property behind them by being the standard against the floods. So what do I mean in terms of economics in this scenario? I'll lead the CDLO, or if I'll support minimally, but largely, I'll lead the CDLO. I'll introduce growth policies that would bring up people's confidence that this guy is very confident, this guy is doing this guy, I'm not going to panic, I'm not going to introduce more tax because that actually hurts the economy. Because bringing more tax is not pro-growth, it's anti-growth. Okay, so you think you are doing something, but you're actually destroying the economy. But then I will go to a place like the port, where we get a lot of our money from. And you have to understand, I've said this several times, the port, what comes to the port is an input into further production. So when costs at the port increase, it means that production is going to increase. So this is where the sandbag comes in. I'll go in there and I'll freeze the cedi to the dollar, say at 6 cedis to the dollar, if that was the rate at the end of last year. So that when people buy things and they bring the things to the port, they are not going to pay any more than they paid last year. Because as it is now, they are buying things at a new dollar rate. And then when they come to the port, they are going to pay duties at a new dollar rate. So they are being hit both at the point of purchase and at the point of importation. Now, these two costs will definitely affect production. And then for them to remain in business, they have to transfer these new costs to the consumer. So they either do that and remain in business or they close shop. And then you throw more people on the unemployment market. So the sandbag here is government sharing the cost. Okay, let the cedi fall, but when a thing comes to the port, help the importers so that the cost of production is minimized. Fix the cedi to the dollar at the port. That's what I call a sandbag. Believe you me, if Ghana doesn't do that and allow a free fall of the cedi, which is going to happen anyway, and allow the ongoing change of the rate of the cedi to the dollar at the port, business will go out of job, right? Job, companies will go out of business. There will be more unemployment, and cost of things that are made from things that are imported will skyrocket, and that will be a disaster. The World Bank president advised Ghana against the Sri Lankan experience. And I'm telling you that Sri Lanka is the only country in the world that uses more of its revenue to pay its tax, to pay its debt than Ghana. So whatever is happening in Sri Lanka is potential or is likely to happen in Ghana if we do not change the way we are doing things. I don't know whether people understand what I'm saying or not. Your country is not good. Nana Akufo-Addo was on BBC saying that the city is firming up. The city is not firming up. He knows that. He knows we are pumping money from our reserves, pumping dollars from our reserves to keep the city afloat. Nothing in the economy has changed for the city to firm up against the dollar. Nothing in the economy of Ghana has changed to firm up the city against the dollar. The city is not firming up. We are cutting our nails to have the city. But Itaye Komohe is going to get finished. When the world could be even in a dire situation than what it is now, then what are we going to do? Please leave the city alone and help traders at the port by fixing the cedi to the dollar so that they do not have to pay more import duties than they were paying last year. Do the sandbag and let the cedi, you can support cedi minimally, but don't use the reserves because we don't know what's going to happen in the next 6 months, in the next 1 year, in the next 18 months. The reserves are there for dire scenarios. When we got independence, 5 million people, we had 200 million pounds in reserves. By 1965, the 200 million pounds has reduced to 500,000. By 1965, Ghana was bankrupt. As we are speaking now, Sri Lanka is on the verge of bankruptcy because it's been doing this same thing, using its money to prop up its currency. Now it's got less than 3 months of foreign reserves. It's got less than 3 months of imports as its foreign reserves. Now it's defaulting on its payment because he's saying that the little money he has to use to buy food and fuel. Now, the way we are going, the way we are using our reserves to back up a sliding cedi because of poor economic management, we are going to get there. I wouldn't be surprised if, as I'm talking to you now, you probably only have about 6 or 5 months of exports in our reserves. The way we are pumping money to float the cedi, I wouldn't be surprised if the 8 months reserves we had at the beginning of the year has reduced to 5 months. And if that does not stop, we will be in a situation where we just have to default. And that will push us down deeper in our credit rating. As we are speaking now, Sri Lanka has run to the IMF begging for bailout because they have done the wrong thing. We say we don't want to go to IMF, but the way we are going is going to be very hard. I don't know what the government is saying, but from where I'm sitting, things are not good. I mean, Bloomberg has started speculation again on 21st of April that the cedi is going to fall further from its record lows. A day before, the World Bank president advised Ghana to set up debtor creditor committees to see how to manage this unsustainable debt. It should do it prompt. That was advice. And they went on to further advise that the solution is not revenue mobilization. The solution is pro-growth policies. And that means tax cuts. That means cut interest rate to stimulate the economy. Ghana government is not thinking about that. And that is a worry. But that's what I've been telling you people forever, the way to go. I hope once the president of the World Bank has spoken, they are going to take heed. Chako Manyaba.
Thank you for that, Dr. Nee. I think that was clear. Okay. No one's posted any questions in yet, so everybody, if you can start posting your questions now, that'd be really helpful. And whilst they're getting ready to do that, Dr. Nee, just a quick thing. So you've outlined what you would do, what you suggest that they do to prevent the city from going the way that your predict is going to go. Let's just say, for argument's sake, they do not consider any of these measures at all. What can we expect, and what should people listening prepare themselves, or how should they prepare themselves?
Well, like I always say, if the cause remains the same, the effect, or if the cause remains constant, the effect will remain the same. So now, if the cause of what is happening in Sri Lanka becomes the cause in Ghana, then what's happening in Sri Lanka will happen in Ghana. That's the base of all logic and science. If that's called the reproducibility, if you reproduce an experiment using the same chemicals, then the end point is going to be the same. If you do it 100 times, the end point is going to be 100 times. Now, and there's no magic about this. And that's why the World Bank, I can send the article to you, that's why the World Bank president was warning Ghana against what is happening in Sri Lanka now. Because if you don't change the dynamics, then there is no way you escape the effects. Now, whether local factors can modify it or not, the end game is going to be the same. As a matter of fact, there's going to be a regime change in Sri Lanka. I believe that. And if Ghana government doesn't heed advice, doesn't do the right thing, there will be a regime change. There will be a regime change in Ghana. We will not get to 2024 because this is not acceptable.
But then you'd hope that regime would be able to do better than the previous one. And
yes.
Hope so.
Yes. Yeah, you see, because what's happening in Ghana is a combination of incompetence and play out of an ego. You see, Nana Akufo has pushed himself into a certain corner that is finding it difficult to come back because of his ego. If I were him, I would just sit down and I say, look, you know what? The way I thought it would be in government has not been so. We've made A, B, C, D mistakes, and we played with you to understand that. So we're going to roll back this. We're going to put this in place. In 6 months' time, we'll do this. In 12 months' time, this. In 18 months' time, we'll be out of this mess. Simple and straightforward. Because your duty is to serve the people, not the people to serve you. But it's got a different mindset. All of them, they have a different mindset. Because the people are supposed to say they don't believe it's their duty to explain to the people where they are, why they are there, and what they need to do to come out. But I can tell you this. If the cost remains constant, the effect will not change. That's the way I see it. Now, what will happen if there's a regime change? I don't know. But if that will create the scenario for some of us to contribute what we think should be done, then it's going to be a better change for Ghana.
Because my concern is you've changed regime and the people who come in are just as incompetent as the current ones you have. Because I don't know, to your knowledge, anybody waiting in the wings who would be able to take over and do a better job than the current government is doing?
Oh, definitely. I can do it with my eyes closed, with my one hand behind me. I can do it better. If I with my right hand behind me, I can do it better. I can write with my left hand better, and now we can do it with both hands together. So
Yeah.
that's not a problem. I mean, with my eyes closed, I can write into 400 line. Now Akufo-Addo with his eyes open. All right. So that's not even for debate. That's not. But the point is that I'm not going to organize a regime change.
Yeah,
Regime
yeah,
change.
so yeah. But I'm also
Yeah.
I'm saying like between now,
So,
just like
so,
between
so
now,
those
let's
who
have
do
this
that,
debate.
those who do that, and they do that because maybe they've heard me talk and they've heard my solutions and they want to implement solutions, then good on them. Then the regime change will be a good one. But if they are doing a regime change without any plan to solve the problem, then it will be the same or even worse. So regime change per se is not the solution. But regime change will happen no matter what if the cost remains constant. Whether it's better or not becomes a secondary issue because that's how human beings behave.
Mhm. We have a question here from Victoria Quarte. Thank you for posting a question. It appears that old wine bag is weak, filled with holes. Can't we buy a new wine bag?
Yes, we can buy a new wine bag. I'm the new wine bag and I'm the wine itself. So come and buy me, bring the money. And on a more serious note, yes, Ghana needs a new wine and a new wine bag. That's what Ghana needs. Democratically, this is supposed to happen in December 2024. But like I'm saying, society is dynamic. Society, like any human being, responds to external stimuli. The external stimuli we are having now is that our economy is crashing, and people will respond. If they do not see any hope, if they do not see any change in behavior of government to arrest the situation, people will react. And like I'm saying, that will bring regime change, whether they like it or not. But the new one will come.
Okay. So no one has any questions? So you're still mulling it over? Even if you think it's an obvious question, still post it because it might not be obvious to everybody who's listening.
Yes. Just ask any question. Just ask any question that's on your mind. Don't
Mhm.
worry. Um, I yeah, I feel really sad. I honestly feel very, very sad that I've been talk about regime change in Ghana. I honestly feel very sad because we have all the tools to prevent that. We have all the tools. I mean, what do they sell in Sri Lanka? Not tea. That's what you learned in primary school. Tea in Ceylon. Sri Lanka used to be called Ceylon. That's
Yes.
the only thing they produce. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you are talking of a country like Ghana, the sixth largest producer of gold. We are producing 130 or almost 140 metric tons. You know what that means? 140 metric tons. 1 metric ton is 1,000 kilograms. So we produce 140 metric tons of gold. No country the size of Ghana in the world produces that amount of gold. No country. Ghana has been producing gold for 500 years. 500 years ago, there was no America, there was no Australia, there was no Canada.
But now
The,
look. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So Ghana has been producing gold long before these countries were established, and yet we are just a wee bit behind them. Only 5 countries produce more gold than Ghana. Look at our size. China, Australia, Russia, America, Canada. These are mighty nations. These are continents.
Mhm.
After them is small Ghana. And look at what we are doing to ourselves. I mean, we are producing 25% of world cocoa. Every chocolate you eat, a quarter of it comes from Ghana. And look at what you are doing.
But this is a classic example of a workman not knowing what tools he has or how to use the tools that he has.
Tools.
You know
Yes.
what I'm saying? That's what
Now,
it is. They don't know what to do with what the resources that they
yeah,
have.
we have not the faintest idea. Now we are being compared with Sri Lanka. The government is telling us that, guys, to avoid what's happening in Sri Lanka, try and create prompt, prompt creation of debtor creditor committees to solve the problem of your unsustainable debt. Don't you feel ashamed? I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's so tiring.
Here's a question from Eric. Thank you for your question, Eric. How do you compare Ghana's economy to economies like Lebanon and Yemen?
Uh, all right. So Yemen is in a chronic war situation. Okay. Yemen is in a chronic war situation. Yemen, as we are talking now, is a failed state. It's a state with two governments, one backed by Iran, the other backed by Saudi Arabia. Okay. So it's very difficult to compare because I don't even know how the economy functions. But it looks like the supporting powers. What's happening in Yemen is a proxy war between Shia Islam and Sunni Muslim, right?
Sorry,
Sunni Islam.
you just had another part to the question. Lebanon was in the news about 2 years ago that their economies were very fragile. What have they done? We don't hear of them currently in the news.
Oh no, it's the same. Nothing has changed. Well, I can tell you that in August 2020, that's what happened in Hariri. The prime minister had to resign because you see, Lebanon have more Lebanese outside that country than they are in the country. So Lebanon depends a lot on remittances from overseas. All right. Now, when COVID crashed and there was no money and stuff like that, the overseas inflow of money dried up. And because the money comes effortless, Lebanese government just spent like Ghanaian government do. So they were not prepared for a sudden cut in inflows. And then they have a fair bit of tourism there too. So when COVID came and restrictions across board, so the two major sources of income for them, tourism and remittances, dried up immediately. Now they couldn't pay for anything. Their currency crashed completely by 150%. Their debt to GDP rose to about 140%. Ghana is now around about 90%. So we are moving there. We haven't gotten there yet. But it led to regime change. Where you see Hezbollah members together on the street with General Anwi's Christian militia. Where you see the Druze people and the Maronite Christians all fighting against the government till Hariri had to resign and the government collapsed. So again, when the cause remains constant, the effect is the same. So what actually happened? The reason you haven't heard much is that the world is turning to normalcy, so to speak. I believe that you're having cash inflows from Lebanese outside. We have a large Lebanese community here in Melbourne. That when it comes to Brighton, it's full of Lebanese people. They've started sending money back. Tourism is beginning to shape up again, Lebanon. So they are managing a little bit. They are not like August 2020 when Lebanon collapsed. But we are moving there. As our currency weakens, our debt to GDP, even if it remains the same in dollars, increases in cedis. Okay, so the Lebanese economy is not underrating by export of resources like Ghana. That's why we shouldn't have the problem it's having. Lebanon is not producing any gold, it's not producing diamond, it's not producing any bauxite, it's not producing anything, it's not producing any cocoa. VS is based on remittances and tourism. So when there's a problem of remittances, when there's a problem with tourism, they're going to be in trouble. But not Ghana. So our economic fundamentals are a bit different. Okay. Yemen, I don't know much about it. All I know in Yemen is that there's a proxy war going on there that will never end. Because Saudi is representing Sunni Islam, Iran is representing Shia Islam, and they're not going to talk. And apart from that, Yemen is desert. They don't produce anything, maybe few drops of oil here and there. So we have two different economic structures we are dealing with. Ghana shouldn't be where it is.
Right, so there seems to be no further questions. I'll give you another minute maybe to post up any questions. Anybody who's anything that Dr. Nee said or you want to ask in relation to another question that's been posed already, please do so. Got 2 minutes. your questions in.
This is very strange.
What's that? Well, what is that noise? Is that messages you're getting?
Yeah, people are sending messages here. Can you believe that?
Oh dear.
Oh, no. Anyway, so um, yeah. What is Shika?
Chick is on here. She did comment earlier. Just said that the volume was a bit low, but she's on here.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So they are saying that Welbeck is saying that we have to create a mechanism promptly to avert a Sri Lanka in Ghana. I've been telling you this since November. Bloomberg is saying that the city is going to fall again. Bloomberg has poured petrol into the speculative fire, and it's going to be a disaster. It's going to be a disaster. I wouldn't be surprised if we are having 200, 300, 400 million withdrawals of investment in Ghana. That's a complete disaster. Because it's going to mop up. If government doesn't stop and decides to continue backing up the city with our reserves, there's going to be a disaster.
Yeah.
It is going to be a disaster. Uh, take my word for that.
So at this point, it's almost like all people can do is hope and pray that the government heeds the warnings, really sees what's going on, and does something about it.
My difficulty actually is whether the government really has the capacity to understand what you are talking about. Honestly, it's so basic.
But I don't know. Because for me, it's like if you take a position like that, you've got the whole country in the palm of your hand. You should be able to know, as you say, basic economics. Like you need to do these things to make sure that your country doesn't slide into the abyss as it's doing financially because of poor management. So,
I mean, I'll forward the Mr. Mapa, the World Bank presenting to you to read, and the Bloomberg thing. I mean, but this is it surprising that they are now saying it. This was so obvious at the time the minister read or delivered the budget. You look at the figures and say, no, but this doesn't add up.
So that means that there's no one there who's doing anything about it. So then realistically, the slide is going to continue to happen and there will possibly be the regime change you're talking about. It's almost like it's an inevitability then if they haven't done anything thus far about the situation.
I mean, the president looked at the whole world and told the world that the city was firming up. From what? What has changed the economy to let the city firm up? Even the pound is not firming up against the dollar. Even the Australian dollar is not firming up against the US dollar. What has happened in Ghana's economy for the city to firm up? He knew what he was saying was wrong. He knew they are pumping dollars onto the market, and smart Ghanaians, whatever dollars government pumps, smart Ghanaians with cities in Ghana buy the dollar. They buy the dollar.
Yeah.
So it comes and goes. How much are you going to pump and for how long? But if I'm in Ghana and I have cities, I'll buy the dollar.
It makes sense too. Yeah, 100%.
So I honestly don't know the plan. I honestly don't know the plan. But it doesn't matter. If the cost remains constant, the effect will be the same. Trust me. Like Eric said, there was regime change in August 2020 in Lebanon. Now, 26 ministers have resigned in Sri Lanka. 41 members of the government MPs have led the government benches. Sri Lanka is now being governed by a minority government, and the protests are not stopping. The protests are not stopping. There will be a regime change in Sri Lanka.
Are they protesting in Ghana at the moment? Are people on the streets protesting, or is it any kind of?
No, because we are not quite, like I told you, we had 8 months of imports in our reserves at the beginning of the year. They are using it, but we still maybe have 5, 6 months. We haven't come to the Sri Lanka with about 2 months or whatever left. That everything is going to collapse, because if IMF doesn't come in and they had to use their 2 months reserves to service their debt, then the country will completely bankrupt. Ghana is one step away from Sri Lanka in terms of bankruptcy, but we are moving in that direction.
Yeah. I mean, 5 or 6 months will soon pass. 5 or 6 months really isn't that long. We've got to. They should have been doing something from some time ago.
No,
5 or 6 months is not that long. They should be taking action right now.
yeah, right now, and that's why Mr. Mapa said prompt creation. Prompt.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he knew that when he was saying that, he knew that it's band-aid solution to our problem, but at least it will prevent the slide into anarchy. Because human beings respond to external stimuli. When the stimuli is such bad, they will respond. That's what they taught in 7.1, characteristics of living things, general science. They will respond. It doesn't matter what you say.
Oh dear. Well, thank you for this, Dr. We'll be keeping an eye on this because I mean, there's like how many months are there left this year? Well, just 8 months left this year.
8 months, yeah.
And they've got like maybe like 5 or 6 months to really turn things around, if even that, before the inevitable happens. So this is very, very serious. It's very, very critical. This is a critical time for Ghana.
Very, very critical. And I hope they see it that way. Otherwise, if the course remains constant, like we did in O-level chemistry, on the constant or standard temperature and pressure, when this Boyle's law, this Charles' law, this Avogadro's law, this whatever law, so far it remains constant, nothing will change. The effect will be the same. Yeah. So it's up to them. It's up to them. If they want a regime change, they will get a regime change. If they want a regime change, they will get a regime change. It's as simple as that.
Okay, everybody, thank you for joining us once again. Thank you for all those of you who posted your questions. We've enjoyed hearing Dr. Need's answers to that. As always, we'll be back on Saturday, 12 noon UK time, 11 a.m. Ghana time, and then you adjust the time depending on what zone you're in. We'll see you again next week, Saturday. Please let your friends know, anybody who has a heart and a passion for Ghana, who is concerned what's going on in the country, tell them to tune in so they can participate in the conversation. That's it from us. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again, same place, same time next week. Bye-bye.